through a basic question I have for you today. And I want you to stay with me on this live. And wherever you're tuning in, please fill in your name. Let me also know where you're watching. I know my friend Mumbalingwa is watching all the way from the great country of Mexico, in Cancun specifically, right? That's where all the life happens in Central America. But tell me here, guys, and I want you to be honest with me. Don't respond to this in the comment. If you want to, it's fine. But I want you to introspect on this very deeply. I know I usually talk a lot about investing. I talk a lot about wealth building, about building a legacy and all that good stuff. It is very good, but you have to understand your self-worth is an intricate piece of that. It's actually a foundational element to all the different things I teach you about every day. And if I would ask you this question, guys, and I want you to stay with me here. If everyone stopped helping you and everything disappeared, would your life collapse? Let's say all the applause, the recognition that you get every day, the compliments that you get every day stopped. The validation stopped. Nobody verbalizes that they think you're valuable, right? If even the money you earn on a daily basis, or monthly or bi-weekly, wherever you paid, if that stopped, would you still know who you are? Because there are four things that you cannot rely on to determine your self-worth. You have to understand self-worth is one of those concepts that is easy to hear, difficult to understand, and even more challenging to build. And the reason why is because everything about a human being starts from your self-worth. Your self-worth, the way I look at it, is basically the certainty, the clarity I have in my heart when I go to sleep at night, knowing exactly what is it that I bring to this world, and what is it that void of money, void of fame, void of packaging still defines me, and I can feel value and contentment with myself. It's a Sunday today, and if this is the first time you're watching me, you probably think, oh boy, he's in the nice suit, he has a beautiful, nice turtleneck sweater, he has a hat, he's looking all dapper. Yeah, I know I look dapper. I'm just kidding, right? But that doesn't necessarily determine my self-worth. You see, we live in a time today where packaging is slowly superseding content. So what the packaging appears to be, people take it more seriously than what the content in that package truly is. I understand we live in a world today when we are being marketed to so heavily, so much so that people tend to be able to judge not only themselves, but their worth in life based on what other people think, based on what you appear to present to the public, based on what you think that is important to project as a reflection of who you are. And I want to talk today about something simplistic. If all of these things would disappear, what do you think about yourself? How do you feel about yourself? How do you feel about your contribution to this time, era, and age that we're in? And I want to give a shout out to my brother from Minnesota, Kilem. Nice to see you on the line, my friend. Thank you so much. And guys, if you're connecting, please feel free to share this, right? So other people can drop on the line and also join us on this. I want to talk to you about the four things, certainly, that you cannot rely on to determine your self worth because it is fleeting, right? The first thing is somebody else's pocket. You see, I have a young man I know when I worked in Cameroon for 3 years in recent times in 2009 to 2012. And he used to help me clean my apartment and do a few things for me whenever I was on travels because I used to travel a lot. I'll go to Nigeria, Congo. I was developing a new business in that Central and West Africa region. So I used to travel quite a lot. And he will just, a serviceable, nice young man. He will help me clean up. If I need some errands, he'll do it, right? And when I came back to the US, we've always been in touch. Each time I go back to Cameroon, I will call him. He will come and hang out with me. I'll take him travel around a little bit, just treat him nice, right? And I asked him, what would you like to do with your life? Because I want to support you in a way that is not only consistent, but is sustainable, right? I'm not one of those who believes in handouts. I believe in giving people the ability to learn how to fish. So he told me, well, he needs to start a business, he needs capital. So long and short of the story, I put together some money, a significant amount of money, and I sent to him to start off his life with. Now, before I did that, every day or every other day or every 4 days, he will reach out to me, he will call, he will text, and that kind of stuff. And then I sent him the money, and I just saw a short text. Thank you very much. All right. And I thought to myself, wow, I mean, not like I was expecting appreciation because my self worth is not based on how he appreciates what I do. My self worth is based on what I perceive is the right thing and the helpful thing I'm doing to him. So, but what really struck me is, you know what? Even in times of need, even in times when the prayer has been answered, the degree of appreciation is not representative of the degree of representation of the need that necessitated the extension of a hand for help. So, one of the things I want you to understand is that in terms of your self worth, you cannot count on somebody's pocket for that. What it means is I cannot sit here and I have a need or I believe that because my sister is successful or rich, because my uncle is rich, because my father is rich, because my mother is rich, automatically I am entitled to what they have. You see, it's a tragedy today because that sentiment, that mindset of entitlement is actually taking over people's ability to become self reliant. And so each time you rely on somebody else's pocket and that person cannot deliver, then you feel disappointment, then you feel hurt, then you feel anger against that person. Sometimes you're even cursing them. We've seen that happen. But we don't realize that the reason why we are feeling those sentiments is because in the first place, we were counting on something we cannot control and we shouldn't count on somebody's pocket. So I've grown in my life to recognize as I get older that in order for me to fortify my self worth, in order for me to build a moat around my ability to count on myself, anything that comes external of me is an icing on the cake. It's a bonus, and it's not something I should tell myself that I deserve from somebody else. The second thing, which is very particular and intentional to self worth, which is very important to understand. Don't count on somebody's blessing. You see, in this life we live, we all have our different gifts. I talked about my friend Kilem Chikadem. That guy was probably, in my generation growing up, probably one of the best basketballers I've seen out of Cameroon and out of Africa. Yes, I know he never pursued his career in basketball, but this guy was gifted. That's his gift. I'm tall too. I think he's about 6'6". I am about 6'4", right? I am tall too, equally, but I never had the gift he had. I had gifts in different things. So you must understand in this life, you cannot count on somebody's blessing. You can only count on the blessing of the Almighty. You cannot rely on your pastor. You cannot rely on somebody else blessing you. Parents is a little different. Parents can bless you. They should bless you, and their blessing is very powerful. But what I'm simply trying to get at is that you cannot make the whole concept of what you believe in yourself, what you think about yourself, what you know and conceptualize as what makes you valuable in this life. That cannot be hinged on somebody blessing you for that. I want us to understand these guys because it is very important, right? The third concept I want us to understand in this quest for self development, in this quest for building this moat around your self belief and around your self worth, you should not rely on somebody's body. You know, we live in a time today when, in a lot of relationships, you tend to see manipulation happening with the utilization of somebody's body, right? We tend to see, even out of relationships, we tend to see people who believe that the only way by which they can be valuable in life is if they can take, they can make use of other people's bodies. So I want to be very careful here because this whole concept of self worth, right, really hinges on the fact that you must build things that are within you, that you have control over, and that is not dependent on somebody else's opinion, somebody else's pocket, somebody else's blessing, and somebody else's body. You must understand that as you go along in your life, the maximization of what your capacity is for you to be able to live the most impactful, and the best life possible, you must train your mind, you must train your spirit to develop a certain sense of reliability and self-startership. You see, one of the challenges we have a lot as a people, and when I say this, I mean us as immigrants, us as black people, us as Africans, is that we tend to develop a mentality of expectation without a commensurate readiness for disappointment. If that makes sense to somebody, I want to see that in the comment section. I just dropped something powerful here. I hope somebody heard that. We tend to rely on the we tend to count on the reliance on somebody else's contribution in our lives without preparing for the inherent disappointment that could be caused by that not coming to pass. You see, we grew up in a very communal society. For those who grew up in Africa, you know how it goes, right? In most homes, you live with your cousins, different children, not necessarily your siblings. And what that does is that sometimes it tends to put responsibility on other people for the outcomes of those lives. And if you look around today, especially in our different communities, sometimes there is a very heightened sense of frustration, even from people whose intention was to help you, but maybe they didn't live up to your expectation at that time when you're younger. Maybe your parents died, or for some reason your parents didn't have enough of what it took, or they just had to let you grow up with your uncle or your aunt, right? And you grow up today, and for some reason you're judging those people and thinking they didn't do enough to help you become what you're supposed to be, or they didn't do enough to contribute in your life, or they worked you too hard, they gave you too much work, you had to clean the car, you had to do this, you had to do that. But you don't realize that all of that is based on the fact that you had a certain concept of what helps mean to you. And you didn't connect that with the fact that the person providing that help to you might be doing the best they can. But because it doesn't fit into your context of what that help should look like, you feel like they didn't do anything for you. And that is because there is that sense of entitlement. There is that sense of, I deserve, I am supposed to. I want to encourage you today that as you're building your self worth, because building your self worth is a continuous journey. It's like a muscle. You have to keep strengthening that. You can never count on somebody else's pocket. You cannot squander your money and you expect somebody else to take care of your problems. Listen, let me explain to you something. I was watching a video not too long ago, and this young lady actually bought a ticket to attend a concert by a popular African American artist, Youngblood or something, just Johnny Youngblood. His name is something. He's a rap artist. And this girl bought a floor ticket for $900. And then she put up a Facebook post explaining to people that she bought at that ticket, and because of that she's not able to pay her rent, and she's calling on her 7,000 Facebook connections to please each donate $1 for her so she can go ahead and pay her rent and get some living expenses. And I am sitting there thinking, for one thing first, what courage is that for you to make a decision on how to spend your money independently, and you turn around and you are relying on other people and putting them pressure to donate into a fund for your livability, for your living care. Now that blew my mind, because you must understand something, guys. You cannot count on things that you don't have control over. You must understand that if your confidence is built on things that you don't have control over, you're standing on borrowed ground. The fourth important thing you cannot rely on is other people's brain. You see, we live in a time today when thinking has been slowly pushed out of style. With the advent of AI, you can just go to AI and chat and ask it many questions. It will give you answers and you can move on. I use AI for my business a lot. I use AI for ideation. I use AI sometimes to just have a way of validating certain ideas. But you know what? I still do the thinking. I spend time in the morning when I wake up, like most human beings, you want to go to the bathroom. I don't rush through that process. Some of the best ideas that I get in my life comes when I'm sitting on the pot. I don't know if that happens for anybody. And hey, big shout out to Aristide Mesana. Thank you for hopping on, Aristide. Thank you, my brother. I get the best ideas sometimes from that direction. Sometimes I get ideas when I'm just driving around. Sometimes I get ideas coming to me when I'm just listening to other people. So you must understand that you cannot count on other people's brains. I was watching a video recently, very funny video, right? And these kids are sitting in class for an exam. And so there are 5 of them sitting in a row. And so the first question, they couldn't get the answer. So the guy sitting in the back asked the guy in front of him, answer number 1, answer. The guy in front of him said, I don't know. He asked the guy in front of him and he got to the 5th guy or the first guy in the row, right? And the first guy knew the answer. So he turned around, told the second guy the answer is past participle. Now the second guy took that answer. By the time he told it to the third guy, the answer was past participle. By the time the third guy took it and told it to the fourth guy, the answer now was past bicycle. So by the time the fifth guy was getting that answer, it was something completely different from what the answer truly was, right? That is how relying on somebody's brain can be. Because by the time you're getting everything from that brain without you necessarily processing it and thinking for yourself, then you are just being fed something we call generally in modern times Kool-Aid. And when you're fed Kool-Aid, then you cannot make decisions on your own. You only make decisions based on what other people think. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean other people's brains cannot help you. Life is all about copying good things, packaging it, and synthesizing it to fit your needs, right? But tonight, I also just want to talk about building a life that doesn't break when people do. Because the one thing that is certain in life is the fact that people will change. Circumstances will change. One day things are looking good. One day you have a great job. One day your finances are in order. The next day your relationship is fantastic. The next day things change. The key question is whether you will change too, whether you will break in that process. And I want to encourage each and every one of you listening to me on the line. I know a lot of times I talk about investing, yes, but investing also applies to investing in your own minds, investing in your own self-worth, right? You need to understand this is important because life changes suddenly. Things shift, markets shift, stocks drop, finances change, jobs disappear. You know what? Thousands of people have been let go in the last many weeks. That is life shifting for them. How is their self-worth? Was their self-worth tied only to the identity of the position they had for their job? Was their self-worth tied only to the identity of the fact that in the community they know you as an IT guy, as a this, as a that, as a nurse practitioner, as a doctor? And therefore, it means if you don't have the Mercedes, if you don't have the size of the house they know you for, your self-worth disappears. You become a shadow of yourself. You no longer believe in your capacity. You no longer believe in what you are capable of doing. You no longer believe in the fact that you have something you can contribute to this life because all these external things have shifted. And you know, or maybe you didn't know. If you didn't know that, let me remind you that things will shift. The key thing is whether you break. If your external identity moves, you will certainly always feel unstable. And every time you feel unstable, you must realize a big part of it is because you don't feel stable in your self-worth. You don't feel stable in your internal identity. You must understand the power of developing yourself, what leads to emotional strength and financial strength, because these two are connected. I read something that somebody said one time. He said, you know what? If you take the wealth of the world and you redistribute it equally to everybody, in 20 to 30 years, the richest people will be the ones back with the same amount of money and more that they had before. You know why? It's because they've developed the self-worth, the ability from inside to understand the compass on how to attract those things. You must build internal reserves before you build external successes, my people. You must build it on the inside before you try to manifest it on the outside. You must build the strength in you to recognize that a part of living is disappointment. A part of life is the fact that people will not act the way you expect them to act all the time. It's the fact that people will not do the things you expect them to do all the time. And that is okay. That is perfectly okay. I'll give you a simple example. We came back from church today, and usually when we come back from church, I do a few videos, I do a few pictures because my team usually needs that, for my different platforms, my different businesses I do, and stuff like that. And usually I have one of my daughters, I have three beautiful girls, gorgeous girls, loving, kind, hardworking. And I usually ask one of them to come help me. It usually takes about 5-10 minutes. And I asked one of them today, asked the middle one. She said, well, she's tired. She wants to go and sleep. And then I asked my first daughter, I said, can you help when we get back home? She said, well, Daddy, let me ask you a question. Why do you always take these pictures and videos and stuff like that? I said, hey, you know what? I explained to her why I do it. And she said, well, she doesn't think it's necessary. I said, that's okay for you to not think it is necessary because you're not the one who needs it, right? I am the one who needs it. So if I tell you that I need it, it's because it is necessary for me. But let me tell you even what is very important in that. The me many years ago would have just been very frustrated, and I would have used only my uh, my father tone. Why do you ask me that kind of question? Come on, when I give you instructions, just follow. But because I've matured enough in my life and in my self-worth and in my spirit to understand that I cannot, even though she's my daughter, I cannot necessarily control how she thinks. I cannot control what she wants to do. I can only advise her. I can only coach her. And if my coaching doesn't work, hopefully life will coach her and still give her another opportunity, right? So why am I bringing this up? I just want to remind you why it matters. Because if you don't build internal reserves, external successes don't matter, guys. It's all inside. It's all how you perceive it. You must understand that fragile identity leads to fragile finances and a fragile life. It truly does. It truly does because it's all about how you perceive those things. You must prepare for disappointment without becoming bitter. Don't. Let me be fair, frank, transparent, honest with you. Every good thing I do in my life for somebody, I don't expect a thank you. I don't expect recognition for that. That is not it. My recognition, my thank you is already embedded in the mindset first that decided to do an act that doesn't benefit me directly. That is already my recognition. That is already my thank you. It is usually said man gives the award, but only God gives the reward. Once you understand this, you realize disappointment is not a surprise. It is part of life. It is part of adulthood. Mature people prepare emotionally and financially, knowing that all these things will happen. How do you prepare for this? You take practical steps. You have an emergency fund. So in case something happens, 3 to 6 months of living expenses is there. Then you don't have to beg. Then you don't have to call people at 2 a.m. in the morning worried. You don't have to act desperate. That's how mature people prepare their self-worth. That's how mature people make sure they don't count on other people to develop their self-worth. You must understand discipline protects you when everybody else fails. Discipline is the ability to do the things you have to do even when you don't feel like doing them. That's how it works, right? Because I realize in this life, getting to 49 years young next month, that disappointment only comes from expectations. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. If you feel me on that one, drop me a comment there in the comment section. Disappointment only comes from expectations. Bitterness happens when expectations are either not met or unrealistic. That's why the expectation I have for anybody I know and I'm close to and I'm tied to is based on the realistic perception of what they have for themselves. That is a topic for another day. I can develop that into a 2-hour conversation. I will do that later, right? But what I want to get to you to understand is that preparation creates calm. Preparation creates a certain amount of certainty. Preparation creates a peace from within that you know that no matter the storms in life that come, no matter the disappointments that ensue, no matter the pain and failures that happen, right? You will still be able to make sure because you've prepared. That doesn't determine your self-worth. It doesn't determine the way you think about yourself and the way you think your value is on this side. So I want to remind you that the 4 things you cannot use to measure your worth is: number 1, somebody else's pocket; number 2, somebody else's blessing; number 3, somebody else's body; and number 4, somebody else's brain. Think for yourself. Ask God for your own blessings. Kneel down in front of your parents for them to bless you. You see, we live in a time today when I see a lot of children judging their parents, complaining bitterly about their parents. My father didn't do this. My mother didn't do this. You know what? One of the things I learned earlier in my life is that I can never judge you until I am put and given the circumstances that you had to make the decision you made. That's why a lot of children grow up and at some point in their life, they start realizing that maybe I was unfair to my parent. I always tell my generation and people even younger than me coming up, anybody who listens, I say, don't judge your parents, just do better. That's it. If you think what they did wasn't enough, they didn't take care of you as much, your daddy never gave you enough money, your daddy was a bad guy, he did that, he did this, just do better. That's it. That's it. Because the circumstances of that time where they are, in the decisions they made, you can never understand it because you were never there. So you cannot build your confidence on all of these things, right? You cannot build your confidence, your self-worth, your ability to rise in life just based on the expectation you have from somebody else's finances. You cannot build confidence on somebody else's income. If their income changes, your identity will change automatically. Stop attaching worth to access. Stop attaching your self-worth to the fact that you know this person, you know that, or this person can give you access to this. Stop it. Stop it. Start building skills. Start building assets. Start building things that belong to you. Because when you have it in your head, you have the skill in your hand, nobody can take that away. It doesn't matter where you find yourself, you'll still be able to rebuild from there. You have to remember, income can disappear. Capability, skills, and the right mindset only compounds. And those are the pillars. You cannot count on somebody's blessing. Favor is good. I don't deny that. Favor is very powerful, but it is not a strategy. Access without ownership creates dependency. Don't confuse opportunity with stability. Don't. Because you have to structure your life so that blessings accelerate you, not define you. As I speak every day, as I go to bed, as I pray during the day, I ask God to send destiny helpers my way. But you know what I ask God more for? I ask God more for the energy, for the inspiration, for the blessing, for the strength, the courage, the tenacity, and the resilience to be a destiny changer to somebody. Because if I change enough destinies, naturally, somebody will change my own destiny. Guys, I want you to understand these concepts. This is deep stuff. Today, I'm not here just to talk to you about investing on the market. No, I am here to build, first of all, from the inside. Start by becoming the person who can change somebody's destiny, who can change somebody's life, who can help somebody move from a place of darkness to light, who can help somebody with an idea that revolutionizes what they do. And the only way you start with that is, first of all, building the self-worth to believe, first of all, that you are capable of being a destiny changer. Once you become a destiny changer, automatically destiny changers will start moving into your own life. Automatically people who are going to make a difference will start moving into your own life. Today, I have over 12,000 people in all my social media communities. It's not too big, but it's something meaningful to me. For a young man out of Bali Park, born in Bamenda in Cameroon, grew up, came to America by some circumstance, been working through my whole life trying to develop myself. For 12,000 people to believe in the things I say and decide to subscribe to my channels, that is powerful. By the way, if you haven't subscribed yet, or you're not if you're watching on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, subscribe to my channel, follow me on YouTube, on Instagram, share this with other people who can benefit from this, right? For me to know that 12,000 people listen to what I say and that it made a decision by themselves, like you will be making a decision to subscribe, it means there is a certain, that is my own destiny helpers coming to bless my own life. You sitting on the line now, watching and listening to me, you are part of my destiny helper. But the only way you could do this is because for a long time before now you are seeing me, I have been trying to help other people with my ideas. I've been trying to help other people with my messages. I've been trying to help other people with my skills, with my abilities, with the things God has given me, with my resources, with my money. Because once you understand that concept, everything changes. Gratitude is good, but don't become dependent on that. Don't become dependent on expecting that people must tell you thank you. People must show you recognition. People must elevate you to a place to show that you've done all these wonders. No. No. I learned that the hard way. I learned that from my father, my hero, the person I looked up to. I looked at his life. I've seen times in his life when he's up. I've seen times in his life when he's down. I've seen times in his life when people he picked from the gutter, raised them up, put them in positions of influence, will turn around and stab him in the back. And he will look at me in the face and say, my son, that never defines whether I do good or not. Because my self-worth cannot stop me from continuing to be a destiny helper to somebody else. Guys, I'm talking to you today from my heart. This is not a prepared message. This is just something I feel like talking about because we are living in a time today when friendships are very brittle, where people relate with people for interest and not from a genuine connection to want to see each other do well. It is important to understand that gratitude is certainly warm to the heart, but it shouldn't be a syrup that you depend on for your self-worth. The second thing I want to talk about, and I want to go a little bit deeper, is don't tie your value to appearance or attention. I love to dress nicely. I love to look good because you never have a second opportunity to make a first impression. You always have to remember that you have to dress the way you want to be addressed. But you know what? If you take this suit away, you take this hat, you take this entire look, and you put me in a tattered outfit sitting somewhere, it doesn't change the belief I have in myself. It doesn't change the self-worth, my perception of what my value is. And it didn't happen by accident. It's because I worked on that. You have to understand attention is temporary. Character is durable. Attention is temporary. One day you can be the president of your local association. The next day you are not. You remember the Bible story? This is a funny one, but it's very powerful. The donkey that carried Jesus while we're actually in Lent season now, right? We're heading towards Easter. The donkey that carried Jesus during Easter, surprisingly enough, he was impressed and happy that as they were walking through, people were applauding, people were happy, people were hailing and everything. And the donkey mistook that for people hailing him. And then he got back to the stable next to his other compatriots in the stable, and he was surprised that nobody cares for him anymore. And his friend turned around and told him, it wasn't about you, it was about the person you were carrying. Right? So in this life, one of the things I also learned from my hero, my mentor, my father, is the fact that titles, positions, money, wealth, riches, tangible stuff, You must always disconnect the sense of who you are from those things. That's why you see a lot of people struggle. When their things are good in life, they are on top and people hail them, president, boss man, chairman, and something happens. Maybe their business fails. Maybe they get into trouble. Maybe they file for bankruptcy, like I did many years ago, foreclosed on a home. You know, all those different challenges that will come in life if you live long enough. And all of a sudden, they've lost their confidence. They've lost their self belief. They become a shadow of themselves. They walk into places and they feel like they want to hide. You know why? Because they tied their value to appearance and attention and not to what they genuinely have on the inside. You must build internal confidence, my people, not external validation. External validation is good. I appreciate all the great comments you put on Facebook for me. I appreciate all the shares and everything. It means a lot to me, but trust me, if I meet you one on one, you know the question I'll ask you the first: how can I improve? What do you suggest I do to get better? You know why? Because just like the coach of New England Patriots, I forget his name, the winning, I think he's one of the winningest coach in the NFL. This guy was so focused on his job so much so that the New England Patriots finish winning the Super Bowl and they go to a press conference. Bill Belichick, that's his name. They go to a press conference after the game. Everybody's happy. They are pumping champagne and screaming at the top of their voices. And the journalist asked Bill Belichick, how you doing? How are you feeling? You just came through winning your second Super Bowl. And you know what he started telling the journalists? He started explaining to the journalists their plans for next season. Some of the key positions that he thinks he needs to fill, some of the players that he wants to bring in, when camp is starting again, why players need to be focused. This guy had already walked away from that victory because he was already in the rearview mirror. Guys, you have to be careful with attention. We have people today who look at social media and they look at that and take people's 30 seconds highlight reels and try to use that as judgment on their own full-time back-end realistic work. Don't judge your own relationship based on other people's. Don't use attention as a dependent drug. Recognize attention for what it is, an appreciation that could be temporary and that could be withdrawn anytime the person chooses. That shouldn't be what drives you. That shouldn't be what validates you. That shouldn't be what gives you the impetus to want to do what you're doing. That should just be an added icing on the cake. You must always remember this, guys. Attention is rented, but character is owned. Because character is who you truly are when the lights are off. I'm not talking about perfection here. I'm talking about character as a person, a work in progress. Who are you truly when the lights are off, when the attention is gone, when the suit is no longer there, when the money is no longer there, when life turns on its head, when things go bad, when situations are not happening the way you wish and pray for? Who are you? Do you still believe in yourself? Do you still believe in that dream? Do you still believe in that capacity? Can you still walk the way you used to walk when you were coming out of the G-Wagon Mercedes and today you are coming out of a Corolla? Can you still walk that walk? Can you still have that smile on your face that you used to have when you had two jobs and money was being paid to you every 2 weeks? You had a lot of money coming in. You go to parties, you buy the most expensive whiskey. Today, it's not like that anymore. The IT industry doesn't. You've been fired. Can you still smile that smile? If you cannot, then you need to understand the problem is not that job that you lost. The problem is not the circumstances that happened to you. The problem is that you had not fortified your self-worth on the inside, guys. I hope that sinks in here. Is somebody really getting me here? Let me know. Leave me a message there. Let me know exactly if I'm making some sense. Because sometimes I'm just talking, right? And I'm talking a lot of times just based on how it's coming through. I don't know if it makes sense. I don't know if it doesn't make sense, but I just talk. And I hope it is making sense to somebody, right? Guys, you must understand these things because these things are going to determine a big part of how you perceive yourself and you perceive your life. The third thing I want to go into more detail, you cannot rely on somebody's brain You must understand mentors are guides and they are not crutches. Everyone needs a mentor. One of the things that has helped me the most in my life are mentors. I have a lot of mentors who have significantly poured into my life. From mentors I've never met physically, like Les Brown, the great Dr. Miles Monroe, right? To what's his name again? Tony Robbins, to mentors like that, right? All the way to mentors I've met, like my own father. I have big brothers who've mentored me, uncles. I have friends who teach me a thing or two every day in my life. I take the guides, I imbibe it, I learn from it, but I also recognize that there's a time they will not be there. And so my reliance is not totally on them being there, but my reliance is totally on taking what they share with me, thinking, using my own brain, processing it, and if it makes sense, I apply it. Same way you're listening to me now, take what I'm telling you. If it makes sense to you, apply it. Think for your own self. You must think independently. We are living in a time when independent thinking is very powerful. Independent thinking is what helps to define your own niche, your own space. What I'm doing, a lot of people, thousands of people do it, but nobody can do it like me because I am unique. It's my own thing. What is your own thing? What is it? Find it. Identify it, because when you do that, that's when you also start recognizing that your own brain has the capacity to come up with solutions. Have you ever experienced a situation where you are in a deep problem? It could be job wise, it could be financial, it could be social, it could be any kind of problem, and it's a little bit difficult. Guys, you spend time with yourself. In my case, I usually come to my office where I'm talking to you right now and I lock the door. And I'm sitting here sometimes for 4 hours just looking through the window and thinking. And if I do that day one, day two, day three, a solution will come up. It will come up because studies indicate that we're only using 10% of our brain. That's what we human beings are using. So think about all the greatest inventions that have happened in this world. That's only about 10 to 20% of their brains. Elon Musk has only used about 10 or 20% of, at the most 20% of his brain power. Guys, understand this stuff. You also have to understand, yes, you want to use your brain, but you can also outsource tasks. Just never outsource responsibility. I have a whole team of people who work for me. They're scattered a little bit across the world, right? I pay them to help me with doing my videos, posting on social media, and building my business. But it is my responsibility to make sure things work out. You know what? Once you understand this concept, everything changes for your life. It can be their fault. It can be their actions. It can be because of them. But you know what? It is your responsibility how you perceive it, how you let it affect you, how you determine how it's going to change your life. I need you to understand these things, guys. Excuses are only what they are. Excuses can make you feel better. It can shift blame to somebody else, but it doesn't solve a problem. I've never seen a single problem that excuses solved. The only time I see problems solved is when people become responsible and take responsibility. I work on myself every day to not outsource responsibility to somebody else. Even when things look like, when things are clear that it is really not my fault, it is really not because of me that it happened. But I always train myself not to tell myself that it is somebody else's fault that I'm in the place I am, or that I'm failing with my life, or that something is not working the way it's supposed to be working. And I'm talking here, in generic terms. The outcomes of my life, I take responsibility for it. I make sure at every point I can hold nobody responsible for how my life end up turning out. When I go down on my knees to pray at the end of the day or at the start of the day, one of the things I always pray to God for, to give me the courage, the clarity, and the tenacity to never outsource responsibility for the outcome of my life. You know why? because that's one of the things that gives you power in this life. That's one of the things that gives you self-worth, when you know and you accept that it is you. Yes, it is you. That it is you. It is your life. It is you. So you must understand, yes, you don't want to count on somebody's brain. Yes, guidance is powerful, but dependency is paralyzing. And trust me, dependence doesn't mean you can't listen to other people. Dependence doesn't mean you can't follow a plan, right? Dependence just means you should have the ability to process, to self-start, to determine for your own self. Let's see. So you must understand something. In this time we live, you have to train yourself to build quietly. You have to build quiet strength. And when I say strength, it's not only the physical body, right? It is easy to impress people with a big chest, with a big arm. I remember when I was younger, I used to spend 1-2 hours in the gym. I have a gym membership now. I haven't been to that place in how many months? I just walk on the outside, sometimes 3, 4, 5 miles a day. But I realized that it doesn't help nobody if you have all this external looking strength. You have this big biceps, your chest, you are looking all buffed up, and yet you don't have the strength on the inside. You don't have tenacity on the inside. You don't have self-belief on the inside. You don't have self-worth on the inside, right? That's why you must build quiet strength. And quiet strength starts from inside. Quiet strength starts from building skills. Building skills will lead you to building income capacity. It starts from building reserves, building financial reserves, so that when life happens, at least you have a way of sustaining yourself. Because you must always understand that even in the Bible, for those who believe, it said there was the 7 seasons of abundance and then the 7 seasons of lack. And so when there is a season of abundance, make sure you save some grain for the seasons of lack. You have to build character. Character is your identity. That's the definition of who you are. People see through hype nowadays. People are not stupid. You can act all you want, but people really know what your true character is. Today, we are seeing exactly what the true character of some of the leaders in America are. Global leaders. These are people we look up to. These are people we count on for their intelligence, for their ability to lead and things like that. Yet now we see them appearing in the Epstein, is it the Epstein papers and things like that, right? So you must understand, even in your investing life, nobody applauds for automatic investing. Nobody applauds you for consistently saving money. Nobody is going to come celebrate you for being emotionally in control. That's for you to celebrate your own self, because that's what builds freedom. That's what builds the ability. Quiet strength, guys, I want you to note this down. Quiet strength creates loud stability. That's how it works, right? It is important to plan so you don't have to beg, because your emergency fund is going to protect your dignity. Your insurance is going to protect your stability. Should something happen to you, what happens to your wife? What happens to your children? What happens to the people that are under your care or people that you are tied to? That's what insurance does. Investing protects your future self, because the best person to take care of the future you or the older you is the younger you. Skill development protects your income. Before today, you could have a one skill, you work on the same job with that one skill for 40 years, retire and die. Today, you can no longer do that. The studies are saying that our generation and the generation after us, they are going to work, they're going to change careers 4 times and jobs 7 times. So you must understand, planning removes desperation. I usually say failure to plan is planning to fail. I'm not the greatest planner you ever meet. I'm not that kind of meticulous, detail-oriented person. No, I'm not. I have to be fair. I am more of a big picture person, but I've also learned in life that you must force yourself to plan. That's why I have all kinds of books. I write stuff in these books. These are the things I want to do every day. So I will wake up it's later this evening. I'm going to sit here for about 20 minutes and I'll write down the things I have to do tomorrow. Not many. It could be one, it could be two. The most important things. I get ideas, I write them in this book. I have notebooks I write in. You have to get in that habit of planning and understand all of these things are not sprints, they are marathons. You do them over time and it becomes second nature. Because what creates bad decisions is desperation. When you're desperate, you make bad, terrible decisions. You must understand that in order to be financially, socially, psychologically, emotionally strong, you cannot make knee-jerk decisions. You have to prepare, you have to plan, and you make decisions based on thought process. Another important thing you must learn, you have to detach your identity from outcomes. You are not your last loss. You are not their mansion. You are not their G-Wagon. You are not the Louis Vuitton purses bags you have. You are not all those things. Who are you when it's all stripped off? You are not your last rejection. I was watching a video, a young lady in England said she went to school, spent 70,000 to become a microbiologist or something. She's applied for close to 900 jobs. She's had 27 interviews and no follow-up and no final employment. You are not your rejection. Is it that you got fired like I got fired driving to organize my dad's funeral? And for a second, I felt like life was over for me until I reminded myself that I'm the owner of my life. I'm the captain of my ship. And that if I gave that company permission to hire me and feed me, I automatically was giving them permission to starve me because the firing is not in my hand. You are not even your current income, guys. You are not the investment you have on the market because the market goes up and it goes down. But your identity must not fluctuate like that. If your self-worth rises and falls like the stock market or like the stock chart, you will never feel stable because you will never feel a sense of control over those circumstances. And when I say control, I don't say it in an obsessive way, but I'm just saying when you develop that self-worth, then you feel confident enough that yes, new difficulties might come that you have never experienced, but you will still go back to the old template, and the old template basically guides you on how to walk through these difficulties. Number one, you start with the mindset that this too shall pass. Number two, you recognize that this is part of life. Number three, you recognize that it is your turn now because everybody will have their turn of abundance and their turn of lack. Once you go back to that template, then you feel confident enough and then it reduces your anxiety and your sense of instability, guys. You must realize that ownership is emotional first and then financial second. I want you to get this very well. Ownership starts with emotions first before moving even into the financial realm or any other realm that you can think about. You know why? And when I talk about ownership, I'm not talking only about assets. I'm not talking about only physical things. I'm first of all talking about ownership of your mind and your circumstances. Because ownership means certain things. Ownership means responsibility. Ownership means preparation. Ownership means structure, having a plan, having a structure, having a path you're following. Imagine that you wanted to build a house and there was no structural plan for that house by the architect. How can you build that? Ownership means no excuses. Because once you build that mind of ownership, your thinking changes everything. Once you build that mind, ownership is the pillar of life. Owning the outcomes of your life, owning responsibility for what happens, owning responsibility for the people who are under your tutelage. That's what I'm talking about. One of the things I spend a lot of time doing with my daughters and people that are under my tutelage, especially young people, I spend time early start rewiring their mind to get out of the excuse game, to get out of the transferring responsibility game. Because once you do that, you'll do that for the rest of your life. I can tell you that for a fact. I came to America in the year 2000 in August. By May of the next year, my mother died. Young woman, 50 years old. I was distraught. I was frustrated. I was angry. It's been 26, 25 years today. I haven't had my mama. My mama died when I was 23 years old. Can you imagine growing up without your mama, growing up, getting married, dealing with children, grandchildren? You don't have your mother around. Yes, I have my aunties, who have been great, but it's not the same like my mother, right? I could be angry for all my life. I could take that as a reason to act a certain way. I could take that as a justification for the shortcomings of my life. Yes, it would have affected me emotionally. It can have affected me psychologically. There is no question about that. But I am not going to give that circumstance the power over the actions and the outcome of my life. I take responsibility. That's what I'm talking about today about ownership, guys. And by the way, I'm actually building something powerful for you guys. I'll be sharing that with you at the end of this video. So stay with me, right? Once you get the concept of ownership, everything changes. Clarity compounds faster than money. I need you to know that. Clarity is what you seek. When you have clarity, structure comes in easily. Everything becomes easier because now you have a pathway. Imagine driving around a destination, you don't have a GPS and you don't know the direction and you don't have a map. So when you build yourself first, wealth becomes an extension, not a rescue plan. All the things you aspire becomes an extension when you build yourself first. That's why I don't only talk about investing and wealth building, but I also talk about building yourself, because the only way you become successful in investing on the stock market, in investing in assets, building wealth, if it is only when you've become that person that can attract those things. It took me a while to understand this concept. It took me a while because I spent time reading. I spent time attending seminars, listening to mentors, buying the books they recommend. That's even what led me to write my own book. I have a first book I published March of last year. It's going to be a 1-year anniversary soon. And if you don't have a copy of that book, look down in the description of this video. Click on the link and you can order a copy of that book. It will change your life. It is called The Seeker. It's a book I wrote from my own experiences and also from statistic studies from other people on how you can best clarify your life. Without clarity, there is anxiety. Clarity is the antidote to anxiety. Clarity is what gives you peace. Clarity is what gives you a deep feeling of certainty on the inside. So once you build clarity, once you develop yourself, wealth and everything else you aspire comes as an extension to that. So let me tell you this. You have to always remember, one day, just one day, people may leave. People may walk out. You may lose family members. You might lose a child. You might lose your father, your mother, people close to you, close to your heart. Your boss might call you and fire you. You might have a fire incident that burns your business, like it happened to a young friend of mine in Cameroon recently. The markets might drop. Your income might slow down because you no longer have the kind of job you want to, or that pays you as much. But in all of these things, if your self-worth doesn't diminish, you know that you're still going to win again. If you build yourself properly, you are not going to break, because your foundation was never borrowed. Your foundation was owned. Your foundation was owned by you, because it is a foundation you built. It is a foundation you intentionally decided that you're going to architect for your life. So guys, I hope this makes sense to you. But before you go, I just want to share you something, because this Thursday on the 26th, which is on Thursday, from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Central Time, right? Which is 7 p.m. to 8 to 9 to 9 to 9:30 Eastern Time. I will be hosting a seminar, and this seminar is called the Clarity, Wealth, and Legacy webinar, guys. This thing is going to be something. All right. This webinar is going to be something powerful, and I want you to be able to benefit from this and join me on this webinar, right? I hope you can see my screen. Now I'm going to leave a link down in the description of this video on Facebook and YouTube. You can look on my previous videos, you'll see that link. You can click now and buy a ticket for this webinar. Okay. If you're on YouTube, you look in the description of this video, you are going to see a link for that. But this webinar is called the Wealth Clarity and Legacy Blueprint webinar. And let me show you exactly what you're going to be getting in this webinar, because it's important to understand, right? We have two categories of tickets. But before we even get to the tickets, let me just show you exactly what is it that is packed in this webinar. It's going to be a 90 minutes webinar. That's the general session. And then the VIP people are going to have 1 extra hour. So a total of 2 hours, 30 minutes if you have a VIP ticket. I'll be giving you the 90 minutes live webinar, which is me presenting and talking about some core things. And this is training where you gain clarity. You will learn the system and you build personalized wealth plan that works for you, right? The second thing, you are going to get a Wealth Clarity workbook. And this workbook serves for what? It's a simple, clean workbook you will fill out during the webinar. This is what gives you the feeling of clarity, structure, completion, and progress. This workbook will permit you to fill your current income, your spending audit. It will give you a chance to have your ideal picture of your financial plan, your income structure model, right? Your savings, how much, where you have them, your personal next income stream roadmap. What is the next thing you want to leverage to build income? It will also have an accountability checklist. In addition to that, that is worth $97. The webinar itself is $497, right? The 90-day money plan is another additional bonus you're going to get as a General Assembly, general admission ticket holder. And this is going to give you an income tracker, a savings and investing tracker, a basic budget template, a habit tracker, income stream activation list, right? You're also going to get access to this webinar on replay for 30 days. So even if you don't finish the webinar, even when you finish the webinar, you should still go back and watch it again, because you're not going to get everything in that 1 hour, right? 1 hour, 30 minutes, sorry. You need to watch it again and again so that way you can pick out the things you need and start implementing. So you're going to get a replay for 30 days if you are having the general ticket, right? We are going to also bring you into a 14-day accountability sprint group. In this group, we're going to be continuing to support you, give you tips and things that are going to help drive you forward, right? And that one is $297 value. So in total, you also have the bonus, the ultimate investment playbook. Guys, this bonus is powerful because I wish I had this playbook when I came or when I started my investing journey, guys. Honestly, I wish I had a playbook like this, something that could guide me. Because with this playbook, you can just take it, go implement, and start building your life and building wealth immediately, right? So the total value for this is actually $1,399. But I'm just doing this for the general admission ticket of $97, and the VIP access ticket is $197. But let's see what those tickets contain, right? So the general admission ticket for $97, you are actually going to be part of the 90-minute live webinar with me. You have the clarity workbook, you have the 90-day money plan template, you have the webinar replay access for 30 days. You'll be part of the 14-day accountability sprint, and you have the bonus ultimate investment playbook. Now, if you're somebody who certainly doesn't, if clarity and speed is a matter of importance to you, then my advice to you is to get the VIP ticket, right? Because the VIP ticket, which is the most popular ticket, it's $197, and everything in the general admission ticket is part of this VIP. But in addition, you are going to have a 1 hour question and answer guaranteed time with me, and that is only exclusive for people who are part of the VIP team. You have a 1 hour guaranteed question and answer session. In addition to that, I'm going to have an extended live session with you 1 hour after the General Assembly meets finishes, right? In addition to that, you are going to have a 50, 10, 20, 20 income structuring calculator. And that is something I use personally for my own finance and for our family finances, right? You're also going to have a VIP bonus, which is the Wealth Architect Playbook. And this is not just a wealth builder playbook, but this is really architecting your wealth from the different angles that I talk about, which includes your identity, which includes your plans, your legacy, all those things put together in a simple to implement playbook. And you certainly have access to future offers the first because you're part of my VIP list. So please go down in the comment section. Make sure you get yourself this. I'll be dropping the link to right now on the stream, so you should be able to see it. If you click on it, If you click on it for sure, it should be able to take you there and you can go ahead and secure your seat. Again, I don't plan to work with too many people, right? We're just planning to have maybe 30 or maximum 40 people. And the reason why we're planning to do that is because we want to make sure we give the maximum value possible. So seats are limited. That's all I'm just trying to say. Seats are limited. So take advantage of what it is. Make sure you secure yourself that ticket and make sure you come onto that thing. Share this too with other people you know. I have somebody who bought 4 tickets to give to his family members around the world to join this. Remember, these ideas, this knowledge, these skill sets, these strategies I share is not only limited to people who are living in America. It's available to people all over the world, and you can use it wherever you are to really start building wealth and changing your lives. Right? So, guys, man, I hope this was a valuable session for you. I hope it makes sense to you actually. I hope that you found some value from this, right? And that you take some of these strategies I've shared with you, that you take some of these things that I've shared with you and start implementing them. Somebody made a comment under one of my videos last week that knowledge is power. And I said, no, knowledge is not power. Knowledge that you act upon is power, because anything short of that, you are spinning yourself around the wheel. So I hope you have a wonderful day, rest of your weekend. I hope you have a wonderful Monday for those who are already in the next day, whatever part of the world you are. Go out there and be something of value to other people. You have to understand that the secret to win in this life is to give people enough of what they want, and you are going to get enough of what you want. I hope this presentation, this live stream today helped you, because I didn't plan on spending this much time, but I just got moved by the message and I kept going. I hope you find value in it. I hope you have a pen and a paper and you take down notes. And remember that it doesn't matter how your upbringing was. It doesn't matter where you were born, where you grew up. It doesn't matter the message people spoke upon your life, or the message circumstances in which you were brought up try to speak upon your life to tell you that you're not capable, you're not smart, you're not strong, you're not vibrant, you're not courageous enough to do things that are meaningful and that can contribute to this lifetime. I want to remind you that all of that was a lie, because you are enough. You are strong. You are capable. You are able. You are courageous. You are smart enough to go out there and win. So always remember that you are enough. Be well, be blessed, and by all means, never stop being a blessing to somebody out there. And until the next stream tomorrow, which I do every day from Monday to Fridays from 7 p.m. Central Time to about 8:30, join me on the next live stream tomorrow. Let's continue to build wealth together. Let's continue to encourage each other. Let's continue to build a life that you'll be proud of, and people that come after you will benefit from that life. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you tomorrow on the live stream. Follow me on YouTube, follow me on Facebook, follow me on Instagram. Subscribe, share this video with your friends and family. Share the link to my webinar coming up on Thursday with your friends and family. Even if you cannot come, get somebody to come. That will be of great help to me. You take care of yourself, but most importantly, it's going to transform their lives. Because all of these things I'm teaching, all of these things I'm sharing with you, I've seen it work in my lives and in some of the hundreds of clients I've been with. You take care of yourselves. God bless you, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.